We are going to be taking a look at westsidewaynesville.com. We're wanting to know how to use this website, how to control the basics of this website. So we go to westsidewaynesville.com/wp-admin, and it will take us to this page here where we can log in, and we already have our information filled in here, and you'll have a unique username and password when you access the website. Once this loads here, then you'll see the dashboard, and everything in this main area of the dashboard is relatively useless. You don't need to worry about it much at all. But over here, this is very important. This is our menu, and it gives us access to every part of the website that we need to control. So we can go down the left side here and we can see what each part of this does. This is just a very quick overview right now, and then we'll go back through and look at this with a little more detail. We have updates here, and you can update these things on your own if you want to. That just means downloading the most recent version, and if you want to do so, then you click here and you can update plugins, and most of the time, 98, 99% of the time, maybe more, then you are going to be fine, and you can do that and it's no big deal at all. Every once in a while there's a problem that comes up with an update, and so we will be coming in though and doing these updates if you don't do them, which is probably easier on your part. Then every 2 weeks we'll come in and we will update all your plugins, and we'll be making sure that everything on your website is functioning properly, and so we will take care of that. If you want to ever do it on your own, that's fine. You certainly don't have to. And the same thing goes for the themes down here. And so we're going to update all those right now so everything is updated. We do want regular updating of these plugins and themes, because if we don't, it does provide some small security risk, but we will keep up with that, and you don't really need to be concerned about it too much. We have posts over here, and that is going to control things like a blog on your website. And so if we click on all posts, we see that we don't have anything because we don't currently have a blog on this website. We have events, and that is the calendar, of course. Media is, as it implies, media. So that would be photos, videos, documents, anything of that sort. You won't usually access this directly. Normally it will be within some other function that you are adding media to the website, but you could do it here. We have forms, and that is where you control forms, of course, and you can make new forms, look at the entries that have been submitted, and we'll look at that more here in a moment. Pages control most of the website, and so that is where you'll make most of your changes. They do not control the calendar, sermons, or homepage, but I believe everything else on this website is controlled through there. Comments are not enabled on this website. Foo Gallery is an image gallery system. We have sermons, and that controls sermons naturally. Our staff members section here is for senior staff members, or rather ministry staff members, I should say. And then down here we have our support staff, just two different places for these people to be. And then Genesis is our framework that we use, and so it's kind of a layer between WordPress and what people actually end up seeing. And so it's enables us to have a very solid system for our website so that it's reliable, secure, and can easily be adapted for other people's uses in future times if you ever go to some other web hosting company besides us. Under appearance here, then most of these things aren't too important for you, but widgets and menus are both matters that we will address more. Plugins are additional little pieces of software you can add to the website to give it more functionality in some way, and you're welcome to go find a plugin and install it on your own, and it might work wonderfully, it might not, but you can normally just run that by us, and that would probably be the best option. Users are the people who have access to control your website, and so you can add them and give them different levels of control of the website. Tools aren't useful in much of any way. Settings, you could take a look at this, but for the most part it won't be too important to what you're doing. Slider Revolution is the slideshow system that we use for the home page, and so you will be wanting to know how to use that, and we'll come back to that here in a moment. WP Google Map is what allows us to have the church map location shown on the home page and on the contact page, and you could make changes to it, but you normally wouldn't want to unless you're moving your church. But what you might want to do at some time is add additional maps on the website for other things, and so we'll take a quick look at it later. And Pods Admin, you shouldn't really need to do much ever down here. It's what has allowed us to set up this staff section up here, and it allows us to set it up in a simple, customized way. It's easy enough to use that you could probably jump in and learn a little bit about what you're doing within there, but you certainly won't have to. So we're going to go back to the dashboard, start over, and go through in more detail, except for we won't touch on the updates anymore. I think we covered that. Post function, essentially the same as pages, and so we don't need to cover them right now since they are not appearing on your website. Let's jump into events here. So we can go in here and we can see that we have these events already set up. We have Wise Guys and Sunday Worship. You'll probably be having more events than those. So if we want to add a new event, then we do this here. We click Add New. We could have also clicked it over here. And so we're going to say Super Cool Event. And that's our title for it, and that's what will be showing up as the title for it on the website. You can set your time here. Now these are the way that we do dates in other countries. Not in America, so when it says 6/5, it actually means hour 5/6. So that middle number is the month, not the day. Sorry about that, but you'll be able to figure that out. So just click on here and you see that it's May 6th, and you know that that is happening then. So we're going to say that this is going to be happening on, let's make it on Sunday instead. And on Sunday, we're going to have a special 5 o'clock meal, and it's going to be crazy. We're going to eat until 9:45 at night, just eating and eating and eating. Our time zone is Chicago. We're not going to do it repeating, but we could. And so if we do repeating, then we could make sure that we come in here and say that it's every first Monday or something of that nature. We have location details, and we're going to say that it's at Kenny's house. That's me. I'm Kenny. And we will say that it's at my address. Don't tell anybody about my address. They might all come and eat on Sunday. Sorry, I shouldn't be typing address there. I was typing what I was saying. And then it comes up here, and we want it to be that it will show the map on the event page. Event cost, well, you know what? It's not going to be free. If you guys want to come eat at my house, it's $199. I'm sorry. Organizer contact info, Kenny McCune. And this is my info here. And we type all that in there. And down here, we can type in a basic description of the event. This is the coolest eating event this side of the JCMG parking lot. Now, another thing you might want to do, add a featured image. And so we're going to do that. This is our featured image for the event. That's Faith and Henry there having a good time. Don't need to worry about this custom field down here. The author doesn't matter in this case. Now we could create an event category. If we want to put all of our youth events in one category, we could do that. We could add some tags to make it a little easier for people to find maybe in some way, but for right now, we're just going to click this preview button, and you'll find that this is on most parts of the website where you can preview something before you publish it. This is how it's going to look, and I've got a large helicopter flying right over my house. You probably can't hear it, but I wasn't expecting that, so it's kind of rattly in here. But this is how it looks. And so then we have all this event information here. Normally you'd probably have a little more text than just that one line down there. And then if we want to say this is going to be a live part of the website, we will click Publish. And once we click Publish, then it not only shows up there as an individual event, but it will be automatically populated in these other parts of the website, like our calendar here. And so we click on Calendar, and then we see that we have super cool event right here. And there it is. It's showing up right there. Now people will know that there is a super cool event at my house. Now, probably no one is on the website at this moment. Let's hope not. We're going to move this to trash because we are done with it now. And once it's moved to trash, then if it turns out that was an accident, you could always go back and restore it. But in this case, we're just going to delete it permanently. And we have a lot of other options over here, ways you could change colors, you could change some settings of how things show up with the calendar, and you can explore that on your own, but mainly you need to know how to add new events. And if you ever have questions with that, of course you can email us, call us, text us, and we'd be happy to help out. In media here, then you can take a look at all of your media files, and there might be some reason you need to come in here and do this directly, but I would say it's going to be almost never. I very rarely find myself adding media directly here. I can think of a few exceptions, but normally it will come in other contexts, like when you set that featured image earlier. Now, with forms, they are fairly easy to use, although they do have a lot of functionality if you want to add additional functions to the website. So let's try adding a new form here first, and we're going to give it a form title. And as we add this, it won't show up anywhere on the website right now. You have to implement it, and we can show you how to do that here in a moment. But we have these self-explanatory fields over here. So we have a drop-down menu. Well, it's going to be a menu that drops down, so it's easy enough. What kind of food do you want at Kenny's house? And we can have lima beans, or lizard gizzards, or jelly beans. And then we want this to be a required one. They have to answer this as a part of the form. Under appearance here, you can change the field size. I suppose you might want to do that. These other things probably aren't going to be too much concern for you. We'll leave it at that for right now on that one. Now we want to have another option down here though, and we want to say, well, we want to know what color of lima beans. And then we only want to have two choices, and we want it to be turquoise or burgundy. But that doesn't make sense to ask if we are only saying that we want to have the lizard gizzards. So then we're still going to have this required, but let's say we want it to only show up for those people who answered lima beans. You can do this conditional logic thing here, and so we have what kind of food do you want at Kenny's house? Well, lima beans. And now this is only going to show up if someone has chosen lima beans, otherwise it will not show up. And let's flip these around here, just for the sake of this preview here in a moment. We have these advanced fields over here, and they're advanced only in the sense that they can be controlled in a good way by gravity forms, not because they're hard to use. So we have a name, email address. We're good to go. That's everything we need to know for this form. So we click Update Form. We're going to preview this. Now this is not formatted in any way to match how it will look on your website. It's just so we can see if it's working. Later on we can put it over here on the website and you'll see how it looks there. Now what kind of food do you want? Well, I don't want lizard gizzards. That's not my preference. I do want some lima beans. What color? Obviously turquoise. And then I enter in my name and my email address. Make sure that this is working. I click submit, and it does. But it says, thank you for contacting us. That's kind of a generic message. We probably want something a little more than that, right? So we're going to edit this confirmation here. And we're going to say instead, that's wonderful. Can't wait to eat with you. And you click save, and now next time, that will be the confirmation that it gives them once they submit the form. Now, in addition to confirmations, you want notifications. You need to know that someone has submitted this, and you don't want to go into the website every day and check to see who has submitted a new entry for the form. So for admin notification, then right now it's just set to admin email, but you can set this up to go to whoever you want it to be sent to. And that's where it's going to be sent to. The from email here, then we can change that over to the email that came from that form. And so we just click this little box here, and these are things that were fields that already happened that they were filling in, and so it will be from that person who sent it. And we can say new submission from the name of this form title, but we could call it something else as well. We could put whatever subject we wanted, whatever message we wanted, and this notification here is going to be the one that is notifying the person who needs to see it from your church. But you could also set up a notification to go to the person, the submitter, so that then we want to send it to the email of the person who got that, who did that there. And so we could go through and set up all the same things, add the email for that person within there, and we would be good to go. Form settings over here, you can change the name up here. You can make it so that instead of saying submit down there, it says something else like let's go. And we always want to enable anti-spam honeypot. It just makes it much less likely that you'll have spam entries going on. We click save. Everything's good to go on this. It's a wonderful form now. We go in here and we can see that we have that as a part of it. Our new form down here. We want to add it into a page. Well, we haven't looked at pages yet, but let's go ahead and do this anyway, and we'll do the rest of pages here in a moment. But all you have to do is click up here where it says Add Form, and we select the form. We called it New Form, and we don't want the title necessarily, don't want the description necessarily. We do want to enable Ajax. It makes it a little smoother, makes it look nicer. You can click preview and make sure that it is working well. Yes, it is. And now it's doing everything that we want it to do, and it's just doing it in a prettier version than what we saw on that other page. And so then it would be there. You can also do it within widgets. We can look at that here in a little bit, but it's quite simple to do. So those are the forms. You can always look at entries here as well and see who has already submitted an entry. Well, we don't have any yet. It doesn't count the one that I did on that preview before because it's not a legitimate one. It's just a practice one to see if it's working. And we don't have any entries just yet, and that's fine. Later on there will be some that show up here. There's some settings and add-ons you can look at. Probably not something you're going to need to look at too much. You should be okay just knowing how to create a form and how to go back in and do some basic edits to a form. Editing, of course, is very simple and very similar to the creation process. So we just click edit here, and then we have name, email, phone, how can we help you. If you want to change the wording, you go in, you change out the wording to what you want it to be. If you want to add new fields, you can do it from over here. Then we move on to pages. We're going to look at the pages we already have here, and a couple of these are ones we don't need anymore. We'll just move them to the trash. But we have a lot of these on here that we do need, and most of these are things that are showing up on the website. Let's take a look at this Celebrate Recovery page. I'm going to click Edit on it. We can see within here, we have this image that is here at the top, some text underneath. It doesn't look precisely as it does on the web page because there are additional formatting aspects that are applied to it here. This is a very simple page, nothing special, nothing complicated, just the basics of what we need right here. So it's a Christ-centered program. If you want to make changes to this, though, it's very simple. Not changes to whether it's Christ-centered. That was probably the wrong wording. But if we want to make changes to the formatting of this, we do want it to be Christ-centered. Changes to the formatting. You can make it bold just like you would within a word processing program. If you want the color to be changed, you can make this all green, and you can even have these parts down here, change over to heading. That means it's going to be a larger, specially styled size. We think this image is too large. We can click edit on that image, and then we can go down to medium size, or we can do a custom size. And we think, that's just way too big. Let's go down to 200. And then we click update. And then we think, this looks beautiful right here. But then we're not quite sure. Maybe this doesn't look as good as we think right here. Let's see how it looks in context. And so we click preview. None of this is live on the website right now. This is only a preview. And then we realize, maybe green text is not the way to go. Maybe a tiny image is not the way to go. Probably isn't. And also this big font down here is probably not the way to go. And so then we think, this is not what we want. We don't want any of this, in fact. Now we could just undo this just like you would any other time where you do Control-Z, and it will undo all the work that you just did. But in this case, we don't want any of those changes. We'll just leave this page, and we'll say leave it. If we stay on the page, then that means we're still here. But if we leave it, then it won't save anything, and now it's just the same as it always was. And you can know that it is by going to the regular page, and then we see, yes, just as it always was. Wonderful, wonderful. And then we're back over here. But let's click Add New. Let's say we want to create a new page. So then we just go in here, and we say New Page. We add in whatever content we want. And then we can format it just like we talked about before. All these normal sort of functions. Align to the center. We can change the color. We can underline it. We can italicize it. We can make it into a link, and you can just type it simply like that. But you can also click this little link options thing here and add some more to it. Do something more detailed in some way. If we think we need an image here, then we can click Add Media. And we have a lot of images right here on the page, but that's not what we're wanting right now. So we click over here on Upload New Files, and then we find that we want to have a nice picture of a John Deere lawnmower. Now it's uploading, and we insert that into the page, and it looks beautiful. And just like my house and lawn, And it's looking good, but we think, maybe we want to make that a little smaller, just like we did before, right? And so then we have this here, and we think, let's align it to the left as well so that text wraps around it. And we'll have a lot of text. I'm going to copy and paste this a few times so that then we can see how this wraps around. And let's go ahead and go back to left aligned. I think that'll work a little better for our purposes right now. We click preview, and we see that's wrapping right around the text right there, and it would keep flowing down here. And just like you would expect in Word, you can do the same sort of thing. You've probably done that before. It's starting to look like what we want it to right now. We don't really need to worry about these SEO settings down here too much. The layout is going to stay the default one unless you have some reason not to. If you find that you have a page you don't want to have this part over here for some reason, you want it to just be the content on the page, you could change it over and have it just be like that. So see, you just have the header and then down the regular page, whereas over here you have the little sidebar marked there. Slider options, scripts, you don't need to worry about that. Let's say that you do want to add in some of these other elements here. We want to have a foo gallery here, and then I don't even know what's in here because I don't think we're using this right now, but I'm sure that it's something entirely appropriate, because why would we have something inappropriate on a church website? But we see this here, we click preview. Looks like these are some staff members, something that we were going to do earlier on and we didn't end up doing it. So we have some staff members, got the name, not something you really want on there, but you can add your galleries that way. If you want to add a form, then all you need to do is click add form, and we can have that show up on the page. And this is all a mess right now, and that's just because we're doing this for demonstration purposes, not because we really want it to end up looking this way. You want to insert a form, there it is. And let's see, what else do we have here? If you want to do something from those pods, you could, but we've already taken care of that. You won't really ever need to worry about that. If you want to put a slider in here from Revolution Slider, you could do so. So this is our home slider. That's the only one we have on the website. Now here at the bottom, you're going to have a full width slider. There it is, right there on the page. Doesn't work well because it's automatically set to go full width, and that doesn't really work within this page context here. But that's how you do it if you ever want to, and if you make your own slider to go on some other page, then you don't have to make it full width like that, and it will work well. You could set a featured image for a page. Doesn't make too much of a difference if you do. It's not going to show up anywhere on this site using a featured image, but you could do it anyway if you want to. If we ever had a search functionality, it could do that. If we had an archive functionality, then that might be useful then, but no particular reason you need to. Once you're ready to make this live on the website, then you click publish, and then it would be accessible through this web address right here, westsidewaynesville.com/new-page. And you could edit that to have a more specific address if you want it to be something else, but that's what it will do by default since it matches what you have up here. And you could also schedule it to be published at a certain time. We could make it so that it is pending review, not something we really deal with. The visibility could be public. You can make it so that it requires a password if you want it to be just for certain people within the church to see, or you can make it private, and that means that only people that are logged into the website could be able to see it. So a little different on each one of those. But that should be most of what you need for that. We're going to move this to the trash because we don't really want to keep that page at all. That covers the basics of how you use pages. Comments we're not going to deal with right now. Foo Gallery we will take a look at. We didn't turn out to use this on the site right now, but you really might want to at some time. It could be useful for maybe showing photos after an event would be a great time, or if you just want to have a generic photos page, it could be good for that. I'm going to click Add Media. And we're just going to pick out a few of these photos here. So we got these 5 selected. We're going to click Add Media. Now all of these different galleries, you can just experiment with them. The one that I find to be the most fun to use, and it's very easy to use, is the Justified Gallery. It's very easy to experiment with this. You don't need to worry about breaking anything. Just try it a little at a time and see what you find works well for you. And we'll do that there. Click Publish. Let's go back to this. Let's go back to a new page here. Guess we deleted the other one we made. We'll click a new page here though, and we're going to add this Foo Gallery in. It exists now. We insert it. We're going to preview it, and you'll see that these photos show up in a naturally good-looking way where they all come right together. It looks pretty smooth and fluid. If you want to look at them at their full size, which actually in this case turns out to be the full size is smaller than the other size. There we go, those ones are bigger, and that one's smaller. got a little bit of an alternating pattern going on here. But you can look through those photos in a little more detail then anyway. There we go. That's a good photo. I'm not entirely sure what they're doing, but it looks like fun. And it's easy enough to then set up those galleries like that. And they can look pretty nice. You can experiment with the other gallery options down here. Several different ways you can do it. And just see what looks good to you. Whatever feels good, whatever you like, go for it, and it should work well. We're going to move this to the trash because we won't be using it. The other options under Food Gallery aren't something that should matter too much to you, but feel free to use them at some point if you want to. Now, we get down to sermons. And we can click on sermons, and we have all the sermons that have been posted already. And I think that we'll be best off, though, just clicking Add New and going through the whole process. So we enter a title for the sermon, and we will say a gargantuan sermon, because I'm sure that many sermons are, and hopefully this one is. And then we will go with the sermon date, and it's probably not going to be in the future, so we'll make it in the past. And a service type, we only have morning service here right now. You could add other service types over here if you want to have recordings of your nighttime services, your Wednesday night services, something of that nature. We can type in our Bible passage, and we'll go with John 3:16. This is just a description of it that will show up there on the page of the sermon. A wonderful sermon that explains the love of God for his children. And then we get down to MP3 here, and so then you need to upload it, or if you have it hosted on some other place, which I don't think that's what you're doing, then you could just paste in the file there instead. And we will look at our media library here. We won't upload a new one, but we could have right then. Let's see, we should have, let's click on audio here. That'll make it easier to find. There we go. And so then this will be used as location of MP3. And then now it has that address in there, so it's good to go on that. You don't need to put in the MP3 duration. I've never had any issue with that. If you have a video of this, you can put the embed code here. I don't think you're doing videos at this time, though. You can upload a file of the sermon notes, and let's see. I don't think I really have any files that make sense to do that. Here, we'll just do this random one here, and we'll delete this in a moment. But we'll use as sermon notes, and you can allow comments or not for these. And then preachers, we'll just choose from most frequent preachers. It's nice and big for Pastor John Shaw, so let's go with that one. And then our sermon series, if we have a sermon series already, we can just find it from here. And if we want to add a new one, we can type it in, click add, we've got it on there then. Sermon topic, I don't think we've used that just yet, but you could have a particular topic. So a series would be for more of an individual time. We have 4 or 5 sermons that are connected, and then a topic is something more generic like love, and so we'll go ahead and add in one of those real quick. Book of the Bible, you can choose from the most frequent over here. I guess we don't have one in there just yet, but we'll say this is from John because it is. And we have a featured image place here. And we can add in a featured image from these things that are here within our media library, or we can add a new one here by uploading. We'll go ahead and, let's find something different than Faith and Henry this time. We'll put some weed on here. Now, we can click preview and see what this looks like on the page. There we go. Gargantuan sermon, that's how it looks. We got our notes, got our discussion points, and we think it looks wonderful. If we're ready to go, we click publish. I'm going to go ahead and do that here for some demonstration purposes, but we will get rid of this very soon. We'll go back to the home page, and this is our Gargantuan sermon here. And now it shows up there automatically, and it came after this one that was also on May 1st. They were right together, so I don't know exactly how it chose the order between them, but they are both on there now. If we click on it, we go to that page that we previewed a moment ago, and I don't think we have these on the... I don't think we have these anywhere else on there. Let's see. Oh, we do have it here on resources, so it will also show up on that page there. And then we have a Gargantuan sermon right there, showing up along with it. It's the only one with a featured image here. You could add those onto all of them, or if you don't, it works fine too. Either way, we're going to click edit on this because we don't actually want to keep that sermon. We're going to move it to the trash. Wasn't as gargantuan as we had hoped, I suppose. If you ever want to go back and look at all the sermons, of course you can. And you can see that they are all there. You could edit them. You could throw them away if you don't think you want them at all anymore. Within these series and topics, you can add them directly through there, or you could go and look at the individual ones and view all of them from that topic. Under settings, I don't think that you have too much that you would really want to be changing. Importing is only for having a large number of sermons at once that you need to do. I don't think you need to be too concerned about anything else in there. Now we have staff members here. With staff members, and this is going to control the ministry and support staff pages. For the one that's actually staff members here, it's just for the ministry. The support staff is the other one. We can look at all the staff members here, and they already exist on this page. And so for the most part, you're going to be going in to make changes to them, not actually adding in new staff members, although it will happen sometimes. So we'll start by going into Henry's page here, and we have his name. We put this in both places here, by the way. Put his name up here, put his name down here. Just repeat it there. His position, the brief little bio that he has here. Now you can put other things inside this bio. You could add media directly within it of some kind, or a gallery, or whatever you wanted. Might look okay, might not look so good. Who knows? We have an email address down here for him. You can put in a phone number if you have one available. And we have a photo. This is the staff photo that we have first. And you only get one of those to put in there. And then down here, though, then we have these other images. So you might want to add more pictures of Henry or Faith, or Henry and Faith, or some other random thing that he wants to show a picture of. And so you can just click on it, click Add File, and then if we were to publish this, then it would show up on that staff page, and it would be formatted automatically to be the right size and so forth, so you don't need to worry about it. You click Update, good to go. You've got him updated with his new information. And we're not going to save any of those changes. If you want to add a new staff member, same thing as we just did. And just go through, fill in all this information, and then you click Publish, and it will show up on that page automatically. You don't need to do anything else. Everything applies to support staff in the same way. One other thing I should mention is this reordering part of things. So you can reorder the staff to be in whatever order you think is most reasonable for the staff that you have. You just click and drag, and then it becomes live on the website once you've clicked and dragged. Support staff, everything the same way. Under Genesis, like we said before, we don't need to worry too much about that. Probably not something that you need to ever be doing anything in, really, I don't believe. But if you ever have any questions about it, feel free to ask us. Under Appearance, the two things we want to look at are widgets and menus. We will start with menus, even though they come beneath. So menus, as the name implies, are the menus on the website. And we have the social ones here. That is for the part on the bottom where it says Facebook and Contact Us. And so that's actually a menu. I don't know if you would think of it as a menu otherwise, but that's what it is. And what we want to pay more attention to, though, is the main menu. And we have a hierarchical structure here. And it's easy enough to use, easy enough to understand. If you want to move something around, you click on it and you drag it. If it goes over to the side like this, that means it's going to drop down from the one above it. And we don't necessarily want to create submenus of submenus, but you can keep going and going as far as you want. If we want to delete something, we click on the little arrow, we click Remove, it will be gone. If we want to add something new, then we have pages over here. We can go through and we can look at every page we have and click on it, click Add to Menu, and it will show up and you can drag it to wherever you want. You can also take Post, which we don't have any. You could do Events and add them as a menu option over here. You could take an individual sermon and have it as a menu option. You could have staff members' names, support staff names, custom links, so you just type it in, whatever you want, and then you click Add to Menu and it will go there. You can do categories, but we're not using any categories really on the website right now. And then once you're done, you click Save Menu. It won't be live on the website until you click Save Menu. Come over, take a look, see if it's been made live. And if it is, and it looks like the way you want it to be, then you are good to go. And if you need to make any other changes, then you can come back in and make them again. Now we're going to take a look at widgets. And under widgets here, then we have our different sections of the home page and also of the header, footer, and sidebar. Those are the areas that this controls. So quite a few parts of the website, pretty important. The header right part here, despite the name, actually does not live on the right. But this is our logo for the church. If you ever need to change the logo, probably check in with us first. If you make it the same size, it will work. So I suppose you can just try to match that size. But also you might want to check in with us, and that's fine if you do. Custom menu, that's the menu that goes right over here. And we insert it there rather than some other options you might do with some other website. That just happened. It works better in long explanation, but we put it here. And it will show up there at the top. You really shouldn't need to make changes to this very often. Probably never. But then we get to primary sidebar. And primary sidebar shows up within most pages on the website. It's this stuff over here. And it appears there by having these in the primary sidebar widget area. This is just text right here. Sunday morning services, blended service, we've got all that in there. Come over here, and then that's right within there as well. Let's see if I've already added this one thing here. No, I have not. We'll probably change that out to slightly different widget here after I'm done making this video. That will make it easier for you to control it. But it will work essentially the same. Verse of the day, shouldn't need to touch it as long as you want that verse of the day there. Then just leave it as it is and it should work automatically. If you ever want to get rid of it, you click delete. Or if you want to change where it shows up, then you could do this widget context thing down here and say that we want it on all the sermon pages, all the staff member pages, or we could say we don't want it on there and we say, well, sermon pages, we don't want that. We don't want them to have additional verses to look at there. Or you could say we only want to show it on the page that ends in, what are we on here? Worship-music-ministry /worship-music-ministry, or you could copy and paste that ending and that would be fine too. We'd say we only want to show it there, or we don't want to show it there, or we could hide it everywhere, we could show it everywhere. In our case, we want to show it everywhere. And none of the changes you make on here become live until you click save. That's what you have to do. Got upcoming events. This is set to show 3 events and out for 10 days in the future. You could change that and have it be some other amount, and that's fine. And you can change what links show up there. Then we have our map plugin here, and we're showing the church location. You could show some other location. You could change the name of the title that shows up there. It says Find Us. If you want to have something else besides Find Us, you can change it out. No big deal. Right now we do have this one set up to hide on the Contact Us page, because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have a map when there's already another map over here. And in fact, I think actually this plugin only supports having one map per page anyway, so I think it breaks the page, not completely, but it makes so one of the maps doesn't work if you try to have it on that page. Secondary sidebar we're not using. If you ever want to explore that, you can. Home-top. Now we're getting into the home page, and the home-top is the slider. And so then we have it selected here. You don't control anything about the slider except which slider you have chosen from right here. And you don't really need a title on this. You don't need a title link. You don't need to change the settings of where it shows up because the home-top only shows up on the home page anyway. Nothing you should worry about there. We will look at the slider revolution area down here later to show how to make changes to it, but you don't make those changes directly from here. Then we have Genesis featured page. And so then for what we believe, this is going to be taking you to a page within the website, the one that is your story. And you could change that to be linking to some other page if you want to instead, besides our story. And so you also could have it be what we believe, which seems like would be the more natural place. I'm actually going to change to that for now. If you all want to change it back, that's fine. I'm not entirely sure why it says our story instead. But lots of changes you can make here. And you can explore it. This is the text that we include within there. Learn more. You can change any of those things that you want to. Pretty self-explanatory for the most part. Here we have our location, and there is a Maps plugin widget that you can put in that place. But then we needed to add the address right underneath it, so we use the short code instead, which we will show you in a moment. In general, short codes are just little tiny bits of a code like this that you copy and paste from some other place, so that then it shows some larger thing on the screen, in this case a map. If you need to make changes to this in some way, you can, but you're probably going to stay in the same location. I guess if you ever want to add in a zip code or something like that, then you can come in and add that in. For recent sermons, this is a sermon widget. And so all these things, they come from over here. You just click on them and drag them where you want them to be. So if you want this on there, then you just click, drag, drop it down. Recent sermons, then we've titled it recent sermons as well, but we could call it whatever we want. And we're saying we want to have 4 sermons show up there. We want it to be everywhere. We click save. And if we ever want to make changes, we click save. Home bottom 2, we're not actually using that on this site. We're not using subfooter left, not using subfooter right. Down in footer 1, though, we have a couple of menus. The first one is that social menu, and it is just showing Facebook and email, but you could add other things into that by editing your menus. And then we have our menu. It's a main menu again. Now up here you'll see that we have the drop-down things come. Well, we don't have any drop-downs come out of here. We just leave it at the top level 1. And it's set to be that way through coding that we've done, and so you don't need to make any changes to it. Same main menu. If you ever want to have it be a different menu, so you have different options at the bottom than the top, just completely different in some way, then you could go ahead and create a new menu over here and choose that name instead in this part here. I'm not using footer 2, footer 3, footer 4, and we're not using after entry. Anytime you want to add something new to one of these sections, you can. Now, in some places, it's going to format just fine. In the sidebar for any of these pages in here, then most things will work okay, and it probably will look fine. It should be something you should be able to do relatively easily. Now, on the home page, though, it's a little different. If you add a new widget into here, well, there's space for 3, right? And so then if you add in a 4th, then it's not going to just fit right inside these 3 spaces. And it might look okay, but probably it will look a little bit not so okay. So if you want to do something where you're adding in a bigger piece of content to the home page or something like that, let us know and we can help you out. We can make sure that you get set up in a way that's going to look reasonable. Just call, email, text, something of that nature. Let us know. These widgets control the primary sidebar, the footer, the header, and the home page. So if you need to change any of those things, most of those changes will come through here as far as big changes of which pieces of content are there. Some of the specific things that show up, like the slideshow, you've got to go to a different place to control the slideshow itself, but this is where you would control it to make sure that it shows up. Now, we have plugins down here. And as we said before, probably not something you want to explore too much on your own. You're welcome to. It won't break the site. If it doesn't work, you just uninstall it. No big deal. Users are something that do matter. We can look at all the users that exist. And I'm not sure why we have so many. I didn't add all of these in here. So I'm not sure what happened. Looks like we've got a special email address here. I'll go back through and delete the additional ones later and bring it down to 1 from Megaphone Designs. And then we'll add in 1 for you to start with, and then you can add in as many more new ones as you want. Make sure you use secure passwords for this. So you go through, you do add new, you type in your username, and in fact, let's just, no, we can't do that right now. And I'm making up this information as I go. And you don't have to type in the name here. You do the username and the email, but not the first name and last name. Don't have to do website. There's a password that they will generate for you automatically that is very complicated, and you would be wise to use that password. So you don't have to. You can make up your own. You can type in a simple password, but then if it's weak, it will tell you this is weak, and you have to confirm the use of it. And when you do that, then you put your website at risk. It's more likely that it will have security problems, that it will be hacked at some time if you use that simple password. So we're just going to use this real one here, this strong one here that they started off with, and then we can set this to be any of these titles. I think most of the time you're just going to want to make people administrators. You can experiment with other roles instead. Most of the time you'll want to be doing administrators. You click Add New User, and now it's all set up to go. You're good to go on that. We're not going to keep that user though, so we will move back over here, leave this page. Tools, we don't have anything we need to look at. Settings, not too much. Under General, you can change, I don't know that we want to say Westside. Oh yeah, I'm not sure when that came to be. I think that it would make sense to have our tagline be Waynesville, Missouri. And that won't show up most of the time. It's only when you hover over it like that that it will do that. You can change the main email for the website. I'm keeping that as mine right now. I don't know what email you all want to have as the administrative email. It won't make that much of a difference what it is. Emails don't generally come about because of that anyway. We don't really need anything on writing, reading. I don't think we have this discouraged. Nope, we're good on that. Now everything else should be okay on this. I don't think you need to be concerned about anything else on there. But we will move on to slider revolution. This controls the slider on the home page. We're going to take a look at the slides that show up within it. And these ones here we're not using anymore. They were just sample ones at the beginning. And then you can tell they're not being used because they have this little red box. If we want to reactivate them, we click the little green check there. Right now we're on this one here. And we have our different pieces of text on the page here. And they do more than that though. They don't just show up in that way. They are animated as well. We're not going to go through every detail of how this works right now. I'm hoping that for the most part you'll be able to take a look at what we've already done and be able to replicate that. This is a little more complicated than other parts of the website, and so if you have questions, feel free to talk to us and we'd love to walk you through that and make sure you can use this well. It's going to be better to use this system than to be trying to create custom graphics every time, and it's ultimately easier and has a better looking result, and so it's a wise way to go, and but there is just a little bit of a learning curve here. You start off by wanting to set your background image, and so we can change this to whatever we want. We're not going to save our changes we make here. You can change it to whatever image you want to be in the background. We have our text parts over here, and to add text, then all you're having to do is add layer and then text, and so we can do the same thing that we just did right here. We've got that, and it's tiny though, not the color we're wanting necessarily. We change out the color. We say that we want to make it bolder. That's what that B is for there. Click this little arrow here and we say, you know what, let's make it italicized also. And we're going to center that text. It doesn't make much of a difference right now, but it could some other time. We're going to change our font size and the height of our row. We're liking the way that looks. We're going to squeeze it in right there where it really doesn't belong anyway. If we want to have it be that it comes in a certain way, rather than just being there the whole time, we have these animations, and they do what they say for the most part. So just short from top means it's going to come in from the top, real short like that. You can make the changes directly here to the animation speed or some other options, but you don't necessarily have to do it there. A more natural place to do it. This is our little place down here for it. See, 8:30 a.m. blended. That's from that one there. I should have probably used a different name, so it would have been easier to have distinguished the difference between them. But we can change where it starts on the slide by dragging this back and forth. And this little section here, that's the lighter color, then that is the amount of time it takes for it to come in. And so we're going to make this really big. Oh, maybe it is this one instead. I might have gotten the wrong one. Let's see. And then at any time we can click play and we can watch this whole thing, and you can see it moving in really slow, because that's the way we changed it to be, right? Now there's all sorts of other changes you can make, lots and lots of changes, and if you go through here you can see that these are all things that we are working with, and I think your best bet at the beginning is going to be to duplicate slides that we have already made and then just change out the elements that you need to change out. So now we duplicated this, we have 2 copies of that. We're going to go on to this one here and we say, oh, this is a simple format here. So instead of celebrate recovery, we want it to be that we have Wednesday nights, and then they happen on Fridays at 5:15 p.m. It'll be very confusing for people, but that's okay. You can change what the button says here. Eat more. You can change where it links to up here. You can click save whenever you want this to become live, and then you've got a slide set up. I guess we can change out our background image as well. Got Faith and Henry there, nice and big. Wednesday nights, Fridays at 5:15. Click save, it becomes live. We don't actually want that one to be live though, so we will click delete, and it has been deleted. And now we're back to our normal set of slides that we had before. There are other slider settings you can change over here that are for the slider as a whole, not for individual slides. You can explore these, make any changes you want. If you don't like them, you can always just change back. If you ever get stuck where you've made some mistake and you can't figure out how to undo it, let us know and we will help you undo it. Now we're going to take a look at WP Google Map. This is what controls the map that shows up on the home page and on the primary sidebar. Click here. I don't think that we get much of anything initially. No, a bunch of words that I've never read through. But if you want to add a new location, some other place besides your church that is something that you might have an event at or something, or that you regularly have be a part of your church life, then you can type it in here. My house, 1204 Satinwood Drive. Got all this information. There it is. Nice little picture. And you can change what shows up in the box when you hover over it if you want to. Come on over. And you can change how it comes in, whether it drops or whether it bounces. And you can have a marker category. We'll talk about that more in a moment. And this is not a church though, so we'll say, oh, we don't want that. So we save our location. Come down here and we can see our marker categories. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. So right now we have church as our only option that's already been existing. And so we're going to say this one is a house. We can choose our image here. And they have a whole bunch of them already set up for you as options. There we go. There's a home. And so we're going to choose that and we're going to save it. We'll go back to this location that I made a moment ago for my house. And now I can select that. I can save the location. And now I can make a map. So your locations, you could have a whole bunch of locations on one map, right? So we have a map over here that is for our, I think this is the one that we're using for the home page. No, that's the contact page, I guess. But, or maybe the home page, who knows. We have all the things already set up here on this, but then right now we have is Westside Baptist Church. We could put my house or Cadet Baptist Church. It's unlikely you'd want Cadet Baptist Church on that map, so it's not selected right now. But you can add that on there, and then both of them would show up on the same map. You can have as many locations on that map as you want to. If we want to add a brand new map, we can click Add Map, and we can type in the title up here, set the width, set the height, some zoom level, all these options. I think you can go through and experiment and find out what you want to do with these. Most of the time you're not going to be wanting to add maps of new things on the website unless they're a part of an event, and the events already have that functionality built right into them, right, as we saw before. So then it's going to be relatively rare that you want this to happen, but if you do, you can experiment, you can find out how you want to use this. Our settings down here don't seem to be anything, no, only if you have Google Maps Business, and you are going to be continuing to speak English in all likelihood, so you should be good to go on that. And then our pods, we really don't need to make changes to this. You all don't need to make changes to this. If there's ever something that comes up with the staff members that is not working quite right, then it could be that this is the place to make the changes, but you can feel free to ask us about that, and we will be glad to help you out. We will get any changes like that made. And in fact, that doesn't just apply to pods, that applies to everything. If there is ever a time when your website is not functioning as you believe it ought to be functioning, if it doesn't look as good as you want, if it doesn't do what you want it to do, the first thought in your mind should always be, let's talk to David, or let's talk to Kenny, and we will help you out. We will be sure that you get into a place where it's doing what you want it to do. You don't need to suffer with a poorly functioning website. We're there to help you. So text, call, email, instant message, tweet at us on Twitter, send us a message on Facebook, send us a letter in the mail. Whatever you need to do, we're here ready to help. And that should lead toward a fantastic website for Westside Baptist Church.